Oh, hello. My name is Yusuf and welcome to today's lesson. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at the different jobs and occupations that people have around the world. Now, remember, one day once we finish our education, we all have to go out there and find a job. So it will be interesting to see what are the different type of jobs that people have and how they could be different to one another. Okay? So, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe and wait and watch to the end, and I'm sure you will enjoy this lesson. Alright, if you're ready, just like I'm ready, let's start. Now from the picture we can clearly see a young man. He's sitting behind a desk. We can see a laptop on the desk, and next to the laptop we can see some US dollars, and he has a pen and there's a sheet on the desk, and I'm sure he's calculating something. He's trying to do something with the numbers. Okay, so he is an accountant. Okay, repeat after me. Accountant. Accountant. One more time. Accountant. So, an accountant. What is an accountant? An accountant helps a company by managing and cutting costs. So the accountant is responsible for finding out where the company is not making money, and his job is to advise the company manager of either doing something about that or maybe cutting it out. Okay, cutting that cost out. All right, so usually accountants are good with numbers. So what do you think? Would you like to become an accountant in the future? Are you good with numbers? Now we can see from the picture a person that is dressed very strangely. He's wearing a different uniform. He's wearing a you guessed it right, he's an astronaut. Yeah, so an astronaut travels to space to find out more about our galaxy or about our universe. So some people, they've always dreamt about out there. What is out there? Which planets are near us? Okay, how does our planet Earth look from outer space? How far is Mars? How far is Pluto? Okay, are there any creatures or beings that live on these planets? So these people's thinking is pretty wide and huge, you could say so, right? So they're interested in what we call the cosmos, how the universe came to be. So what do you think? Would you like to travel to outer space one day? I would. Now, he's clearly good at drawing. He's clearly good at coloring. Okay, he's an artist. An artist. Repeat after me. Artist. One more time. Artist. Last time. Artist. So who is an artist? An artist creates paintings. Okay, an artist creates paintings. Some people, they're very creative with their minds. They look at people and they can draw them. They look at buildings and they try to come up with a new way of designing the building. They look at the trees and they can draw the trees and make a story out of it. So these people are very artistic, very creative in their mindset. Okay, so question is this: are you artistic in your thinking? I wish I was. This gentleman, if you look at him very carefully, he's a very proud gentleman. He loves his job and he's got contentment, happiness in his eyes. Him and the young lady behind him. Okay, he is an ambulance driver. What is he? An ambulance driver. One more time. An ambulance driver. What is an ambulance driver? An ambulance driver drives sick patients to the hospital in an emergency. So God forbid if someone had a heart attack, or someone fainted on the floor, or someone had a car crash accident. So immediately an ambulance is called, they come, they pick up the person, and they rush him or her to the hospital. Sometimes, the person survives, and sometimes the person doesn't survive. The job of an ambulance driver is not an easy one. It's a very stressful one. But because they're helping people, they are proud of their job. And we are very proud of them. Okay? Very good. So one more time, an ambulance driver. Now from the picture we can see a young man with a huge beard, a brown beard. He has loaves of bread around his arms, and there are some more bread behind him. Okay, and he's wearing white. You guessed him right. He's a baker. A baker bakes nice warm bread and cakes. Okay, so a baker is someone who's interested in cooking. Okay, he's someone who's interested in making cakes or things that are sweet. Okay, and of course a baker usually works in a bakery, or sometimes you will find them working in a hotel, because some people in the hotel, they like to have what we call a buffet. And of course in the buffet course there is a small section of sweet items, and who makes those items? The baker. So what do you think? Can you cook or bake as good as a baker? Now he is one of Britain's most interesting, fascinating businessmen, okay, in the last almost 50 years now. His name is Richard Branson. Okay, now a businessman has a company which sells either products or services to their customers. And as I said, Richard Branson is a big businessman. Okay, and he runs his airline business called Virgin. Now, what do you think a businessman does daily? A businessman gets up early, he makes a lot of phone calls, he has a lot of meetings, he tells his company managers what the targets are. Okay, he makes sure that the customers receive their products on time, that he's delivering a high quality service, and so many more things. Okay, so to be a businessman is fun, the money is very good, but you have to work very, very hard, and sometimes you have to work some very long hours. Okay, but at the end, if you succeed like Richard Branson, you'll have the big wide smile on your face. So are you prepared to work as hard as a businessman? Now I'm sure all of us, we like now and then to have huge chunks of meat. Okay, so where do you go to buy the meat? You go to the butcher house, and the person who cuts the meat and sells them to you is called a butcher. Okay, and this person is an experienced person. They know how to slaughter, slaughter the animal, and how to cut the meat and to prepare it very well. Okay, so it requires a lot of patience in this job. Do you think you could be a butcher one day? It's not an easy job. Usually when we see a beautiful building, the first thing that comes to your mind is, wow, that's beautiful. But the person who builds that building, okay, or who built that building, is a builder. A builder constructs something by putting parts or materials together. Okay, so the house starts with the foundation. They have to put the first brick, then the cement, and the second brick, and then the cement, and then the third brick, and brick by brick by brick. Before you know it, the whole house is complete. Okay, that's pretty much life, isn't it? If you want to achieve something, if you want to get somewhere, you need to put things step by step. So a builder, they work outdoors, okay, and they're very experienced construction crew men usually, and sometimes you can find construction crew women. All right, they're very proud people, and they work very hard. All right, what do you think? Are you strong enough to be a builder? Well, I'm not. Going to the supermarket sometimes is fun, you know. You could buy milk, you could buy eggs, sometimes you could buy chicken, but the person that greets you at the till, okay, when you're about to make the payment for that person, he or she is called a cashier. So a cashier collects the payments from the customers. Okay, a cashier collects the payments from the customers. Now, some of the skills that are needed to be a very good cashier is you have to be friendly. You need to speak very kindly to your customer, and you have to be very good at counting the money. Okay, so for example, if someone bought for £40 and they've given you £50, you need to return that £10. You cannot make a mistake. Okay, and you have to work very fast because sometimes the queue is a lot. So a cashier is a fun job to have. Usually people who are students at a college or first year university students, they like this type of jobs because it's a very flexible type of a job. You can work maybe 3 hours here and 3 hours there, usually at the weekend, okay, just to have some spare cash. So a cashier, cashier is a big part of the success of many companies. So next time you see a cashier, make sure to smile. All right. Have you ever faced that problem where in the middle of nowhere your car suddenly stopped, or you had a flat tire, or your car wasn't starting, and the first person that comes to your mind is that of a car mechanic? What does a car mechanic do? A car mechanic fixes your car. Okay, these people, without them, the world will not be peaceful. All right. Okay, we won't see many cars on the road. So they make sure that they understand what the problem of the car is, they maintain the car, and sometimes they give you extra services where they check the oil, they check the car, what they call pressure temperature, okay, they check if there's any bumps on the side, and many more things. So I don't know about you, but I have respect for these car mechanics, hardworking people, right? You need a lot of attention to detail. You need to know where to look the problem from. All right? Okay. Now, anytime you go to the hospital, you will see this type of gentleman, where they're wearing a white jacket, usually a nice tie, big smile. Again, they're saying to you, "Mr. So-and-so, come into the office." He or she is a doctor, right? So a doctor helps sick patients by giving them advice and medicine. So sometimes you might have a flu, or sometimes you might have a backache, sometimes you might have a bad headache, sometimes you may not know what's wrong with you, so you have to go to a doctor to get yourself checked out, right? So a doctor is responsible for telling you where exactly is the problem in your health, right? And it's always important to listen to the advice of the doctor. All right, good. Now what happens if you have a bad tooth and it has been aching you for a very, very long time? Well, the solution is you got to go to a doctor, okay? And that expert or that doctor is a dentist. So we can see from the picture here a young man wearing glasses, and he's helping the young lady by removing a bad tooth. So a dentist helps you to remove any bad tooth or teeth, all right, and gives you advice how to look after your what we call dental care, okay, so that you can have a nice smile and live a pain-free life. Okay, so the question is, have you been guilty of eating too many sweets? Have you visited your dentist recently? Ever heard of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson? Well, it's a famous TV series, it's a famous novel, okay, it was written a long time ago, and it's all about mystery and suspense and thriller and murder and things that don't make sense at first, and then Mr. Sherlock Holmes' task as a detective is to bring everything together and to say, that is the person who has done this crime, or that was the reason this happened. Okay, so a detective is a police officer who solves crimes, okay, who solves crimes. So are you into mystery? Are you into detective stories? What do you think? Now we can see a young man again with a laptop looking at a big structure in front of him. Okay, I think it looks like a factory. Okay, he's wearing a helmet. What do you think? All right, You guessed it right. Engineer. Okay, engineer. One more time. He is an engineer. An engineer designs, builds, maintains engines, machines, or structures. So, if you look at the bridges that we have today, if we look at the seaports that we have today, if we look at the airports that we have today, if we look at the hotels and the hospitals and the museums and the underground train stations and the overground train stations, yeah, everything that we have today that we should be grateful for was once designed, planned, and constructed by an engineer or a group of engineers. Okay, so engineering is the process of designing, maintaining, and creating structures that usually last for a very, very, very long time. All right, so would you like to become an engineer? Now, you would not be able to take the smile away from his face, don't you think? Yeah. Okay, he's out there in the fields, okay, planting the seeds and harvesting the crops. Okay, so he is a farmer. Okay, a farmer. One more time, a farmer. A farmer usually looks after the farm and grows crops like wheat. Now, it's not an easy job. You have to get up early in the morning, yeah, and you have to get those seeds and you have to plant them carefully, and then you have to water them, and then you have to look after them, and you need to remove any types of insects that come and want to destroy the crops or the field. It is not an easy job, but once you have the vegetation, once you have the cucumbers and the tomatoes and the potatoes and the wheat, yeah, all of these things, when they come out to the surface after a couple of weeks or even months or years, yeah, the farmer usually feels happy, and what they do is they take those items and they sell them in the market. Okay, what we call the farmer's market. So a farmer is a very enjoyable job, but nonetheless it's a very tiring job at the same time as well. All right, I would love to become a farmer, yeah, towards the end of my career. What do you think? Would you like to become a farmer? Now, God forbid, if a fire was to happen in your house or next to your house or in a building or in a mall or in a school or in a factory, you would need a group of people to come and to take out the fire. Okay, they have to be experts and they have to have a lot of guts, a lot of bravery. All right, a firefighter is what is needed. Okay, a firefighter, as you can see from the picture, yeah, he's wearing an oxygen mask, he's got the equipment, he's got the gear, and he's ready to face the fire. Okay, so a firefighter puts out fire in a building. Okay, so let's try to say the word together. Firefighter. Okay, firefighter. One more time. Firefighter. Excellent. Yeah, stay away from fire. Now, we can see from the picture here, obviously it's a pilot. Okay, he's wearing the mask, he's wearing the goggles, and he's flying a plane. It's not a normal plane, it's a jet fighter. So he is a fighter jet pilot. What is he? A fighter pilot or a fighter jet pilot? A fighter pilot flies a fast military aircraft designed to defend a country. So as we know, we have the Army, we have the Navy, okay, and we have the Air Force. Okay, the Air Force is responsible for defending the country from the air. So if, God forbid, another nation was to attack another nation, it's the responsibility of that brave fighter jet pilot to go and face the threat. Okay, if there is no threat, they have got nothing to lose. They'll be flying their plane at 40,000 or 50,000 feet in the air. Okay, all right, and of course a firefighter has to be very, very capable of flying the plane. He has to be very fast in his thinking, and they have to be prepared to even give their lives if necessary. All right. Okay. Do you know any fighter jet pilot that is your family member or your friend or maybe your uncles? Now, whenever you get on board a plane, okay, all right, usually you're greeted by a flight attendant. Okay, he or she is smiling, usually a she. And they show you your seat number, and they take your luggage and they put it at the top of the cabin. Okay, top of the cabin. So a flight attendant usually works between, I think, 8 hours to 10 hours. Sometimes they switch between planes. Okay, and it's not an easy job because they have to be far away from their family. Sometimes they have to be traveling to different countries. Okay, sometimes in the space of a day or two. And it all comes down to one thing, isn't it? They have the love, they have the passion for traveling, for meeting new people, and most importantly of all, okay, to keep their customers smiling by serving them good food and great service. And honestly, we have to be thankful for these beautiful flight attendants, because without them, we won't have any good flying experience, would we not? Now, if you look at the picture carefully, he's just about to score a goal. Is he? Is he not? His name is Messi, one of the most famous football players that the world has ever seen. Okay, of course, apart from Cristiano Ronaldo. He he was a player for many years at Barcelona, and he's won many prizes. Okay, so his job, of course, is a footballer. So footballer is a sports personality or player whose job is to play football for a team. Okay, and of course you have to be very skillful. You have to be fast with the ball. You have to have a lot of strength. You have to have a lot of stamina. Yeah, you got to be able to run for many hours. Yeah, most of all, you have to have a big passion, big heart for the game of football. So tell me, do you support any football team? I usually used to support Arsenal. That was a long time ago. Any Arsenal supporter nowadays? Now, look carefully at the picture. What can we see? Okay, we can see a gentleman. He's cutting the grass, and most likely he'll be planting flowers. Okay, so you guessed it right. He is a gardener. What is he? A gardener. So a gardener cuts your grass, plants flowers, and looks after your garden. Now, any one of us who has garden in their house needs a lot of taking care of. Okay, and sometimes you would like to have a design, a special type of way that you want to cut your grass. So obviously you need a gardener for that, right? Fantastic. So what do you think? Would you like to be a gardener one day? Now obviously, once your hair grows, as you could clearly see, my hair is slowly beginning to grow. You would need to go to an expert that cuts your hair. Okay, obviously that person is a hairdresser. Sometimes we call him or her a barber. Okay, a hairdresser or a barber. Let's say it together: hairdresser. One more time: hairdresser. Another time: hairdresser. Now a hairdresser also sometimes gives you a style, okay, depending on your length of hair. So some people, they like to grow their hair long and they love to have a cut at the bottom. Some people like me, they like to keep their hair short. Some people, they like to grow a lot of hair, like afro. So everyone is different. So the hairdresser or the barber will show you the different styles, and then you choose, and accordingly you get the haircut. Okay, so tell me, what sort of hairstyle or cut are you guys following nowadays? Now, without a journalist, it will be difficult for us to follow the news around the world. Okay, so a journalist reports news and works in the media, like the BBC or the CNN, or sometimes from the Arab world, Al Jazeera. Okay, so a journalist is responsible for telling us precisely or exactly what is happening at a given situation. Okay, so for example, in a country, if there was a war, it's their job to investigate or to check out how did the war start, who started the war, okay, what do they want, or maybe if a fight happened, or maybe in a case there is a good news. So for example, if a country made a deal with another country to start business with one another, okay, they give us the reasons why that business started in the first place. So a journalist, you could say, is the face of the truth. It's the face of the truth. Okay, and without them we wouldn't know a lot of information, would we not? Okay, so all respect to the journalists. When we go to a court and we have a case that we want to defend or to put forward, there is one person that finally usually makes a decision at the end of all of this, okay? And that person has to decide. So the person who decides a court case is called a judge. And they have to listen carefully to both sides of the argument, okay? And they have to look at the proofs or the evidences. And once they come to a conclusion, they usually read out a long speech of why they came to this conclusion. And they have to follow the laws of the country, okay? So a judge is an important position in a given country, and it's their job to decide where the truth is, or what they think is close to the truth. Now, it's the job of a lawyer to defend the interest of his clients. So if I'm a lawyer and I have a client, say for example a bank, and there is an issue with a customer, so it's my interest to defend the position of the bank. And it's up to the judge, as we said, to listen carefully to my argument, to listen to the other person's argument, my opponent, and to see where the truth lies. Okay, but a lawyer will do everything that they can within the law, okay, to make sure that they win the case at the court, because ultimately that's their job, okay, to defend and to win the case. And it's not an easy task, but it is nonetheless very interesting, sometimes looking at lawyers debating and shouting at each other. So I don't know about you, but do you have any passion for law? Do you like to defend? Do you like to debate? Maybe then being a lawyer is for you. Taking on responsibility is not easy, especially for a large company, okay? We could see from the picture here, there's a young man. He's clearly directing the lady of what she has to do or what she has to look at. Okay, so this person is a manager. So a manager is responsible for making sure that a company achieves its sales and financial targets, okay? Because as you know, a company is out there to make a profit. Without a profit, the company cannot exist. So it's the job of the manager to make sure that the company is getting more money than it's putting out, okay? And it's up to the manager to find out where the problems are and to solve them very quickly and very efficiently, okay? So, do you think you could become a good manager one day? Sometimes, especially we need help around the house, it's always good to have a maid. So a maid is someone who helps to clean the house, okay? She comes in the morning, or he comes in the morning. They clean the kitchen, they clean the carpets, they make sure that the dishes are washed, and so many more things in and outside the house, okay? And a maid usually helps out the, you could say, the wife of the house, because she is kind of like the helping hand of the woman, if I can put it that way to you. All right. So usually people with, a lot of children, they prefer to keep a maid at home. All right. Sometimes the maid comes from outside the house. She works for a few hours and then she goes back to her house. So it depends from family to family. Okay, situation to situation. So a maid is it is a good job, but it demands a lot. You need to be very strong physically to be able to handle a lot of pressure. So yeah, so maid is a tough job, but you never know. A news reporter is a person that reports about the daily news, okay? They're slightly different to what we said before about a journalist. A journalist is in that situation, okay? He or she has the camera, whereas the news reporter, okay, takes the information of the journalist and informs us what happened through the television, all right? And usually we hear breaking news, all right? News that just happened now, okay? So people who are usually news reporters, they at the university or in the college, they take some few courses, okay? One of it is media studies. And also, for them to be a news reporter, they have to be very confident in front of the camera, and most importantly, they have to be very good in their communicational ability. They have to be able to convey the message clearly. Okay, they need to have a very good voice and charisma and so many more things. Okay, as you could clearly see, this lady has. All right. So what do you think? Do you think you would like to become someone who gives information to people? on the television? Have you ever seen when the doctor tells you that you have to stay at the hospital because you're not feeling well or there's something wrong with you? At that point you could feel very, very lonely, don't you think? And that's what's needed at that time is a nurse. So a nurse looks after sick patients at the hospital, okay? It's their job to look after you, to give you any support that they can, any moral support, or sometimes advice. Sometimes they tell you to be patient. Sometimes they go and buy you food. Sometimes they walk with you. Sometimes they stay with you at night, okay? Every case you have trouble sleeping. So a nurse is a very patient, kind human being, and honestly their job is not easy. Okay, I've been to the hospital several times, and usually they are under very huge stress. So all respect to the nurses out there. Okay, so please make sure next time you go to the hospital you show them all the care and the love. Okay, good. A postman. We have seen this gentleman, yeah, especially if you live in the UK. A postman delivers letters and parcels to people's addresses. Yeah. So if you're waiting for that special contract to come through the post, or you're waiting for that delivery, that parcel from your mom in another part of the town or the city, the postman never misses your address, knocks on the door, smiles, tells you to sign this or to take this, and leaves again with a smile. Okay? So next time the postman comes to you, just make sure you have a nice warm cup of tea or coffee ready for him, or even sometimes a postwoman for her, and you know, it really makes their day, don't you think? Yeah. So let's say it together: postman. One more time: postman. Another time: postman. Now we can clearly see from the picture here that there's a young lady. She's looking at something that looks like a medicine, don't you think? And she's dressed in white. Okay. Now, clearly, she's a pharmacist. A pharmacist gives a patient the medicine that the doctor has written. So, for example, if you've got flu and the doctor has written for you some flu tablets, of course, the pharmacist is not going to give you knee tablets. They're going to give you the flu tablets. Yeah. So, pharmacist is an expert when it comes to the medicine that the patient requires. Okay. Excellent. So, what do you reckon? When was the last time you went to a pharmacist? Hmm? Sadly, sometimes because of our own bad health conditions, we might need a surgery. We might need a surgery. And the person that we have to go to is a surgeon. So a surgeon operates a person in a part of his body or her body, such as the heart, or the eye, or even the brain sometimes, or any part of the body. Okay, and usually the surgery takes more than an hour, or maybe sometimes 2 hours, depending on how big the surgery could be. And to be a surgeon, you need to be very, very skilled in knowing where to cut, how deep to cut, how to stitch, okay, how to heal it, what medicine to give the person after they've come out of the surgery. It's a long process, okay? And the surgeon has to believe in themselves that they can do the surgery successfully. Otherwise, one little mistake, God forbid, anything can go wrong. Okay? So, my advice to myself and my advice to you, okay, always stay healthy, right? Good. Now, you know, in school we always studied science, okay? Science. Sometimes we studied about the animal kingdom. Sometimes we studied about the photosynthesis process. Sometimes we studied about how water evaporates. So all of these lessons that we studied in the past, someone who wants to specialize in one of these fields is called a scientist. And what are these fields? Either the person specializes in physics, okay, or chemistry, which is to do with chemicals, or biology, that is usually to do with the human body or the animal kingdom, right? So, were you interested in science when you were young? Okay, I've always found biology very fascinating. How about you? Now, honestly, looking at the picture here, they might be willing to take a bullet for you. literally. Okay, so a soldier is trained to defend his country from any foreign enemies. Anybody that comes from outside to disturb, okay, the country's politics or society, it's the job of the soldier, as a brave man or a brave woman, to stand up to the threat and to fight it off. Okay, now, is it an easy job? No. Is it dangerous? Yes. Could you die doing it? Possibly. But many people I have seen that have gone through the military, they're very successful in life. They're very focused. They're very goal orientated. Okay, they're very hardworking. Okay, and they always know how to reach their target. And this is the discipline that the military puts in you, which is to know yourself, to know your environment, to know how to get to your target, and to be resilient or to be patient till you reach your goal. I don't know about you, but if I had the chance, I would be a soldier. You have an interview that is coming up. Okay, it's an important interview. This is the job that you've been dreaming for a very, very long time. And now it's your time to shine. And you want a new suit to fit you. All right? You want to stand out. The best person to go to in this situation is that of a tailor. So a tailor helps to fit you in new clothes, such as jackets or suits. Okay, so they take your measurements, they take the size of your arm, they take the size of your neck, okay, your waistline, thighs, etc. And then they tell you, okay, fine, these are the measurements that we need to design for you a nice looking jacket or a suit or a shirt or anything that you desire. Okay, so are you into fashion? Some of the most hardworking people are taxi drivers. Okay, a taxi driver helps you to get to your destination. Now, sometimes we overlook this. Yeah, if you're going to the airport, or you want to go from one town to another town, or you want some information about the town, usually a taxi driver is the most helpful person. Okay, so please make sure that next time you get on a taxi, you show them the most respect, the most love, and always keep smiling, and always have an extra change to give them. All right? Okay. Now, teaching is a very interesting career. It's a job that requires a lot of patience, a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and I would say a lot of enthusiasm. Okay, not everybody could become a teacher. Okay, so a teacher teaches in a school. Teachers can teach different subjects such as maths, English, science, history, geography, you name it. All right, and some students, what they do is when they grow up, they say, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher, just like Mr. Jack or Mr. Malcolm or Mr. Muhammad, right? Because sometimes teachers inspire their students. They want to be like them, all right? And teachers, they open up the minds and the hearts of the students to a bigger world beyond the classroom. And sometimes your best friend could be your teacher, who can give you advice that could last you for a very, very long time, okay? I've had some of these teachers. Some of them are living today. Some of them sadly have passed away. But nonetheless, the lessons that they have taught me have always stayed with me. Okay, and as a teacher, I know how much these values mean to me. So make sure you respect your teachers and you take their lessons to heart, and then you'll see yourself, hopefully, in the future succeed. Right? Of course, you could tell this is London, right? And she is on top of the bus, and that is the good old Big Bang that is behind you. And she has a microphone. Probably she's telling the people, all right, gentlemen, this is Westminster Abbey, and so on and so forth. So this person is a tourist guide. A tour guide shows tourists the most famous places in a city or a town. Okay, so if you were to go to London, of course, they'll show you the Big Ben, as we said, the London Eye, the Westminster Abbey, the Westminster Parliament, the River Thames, yeah, Central London, Piccadilly Circus, Paddington, Oxford Circuit, all of these famous places that tourists from around the world come to. A tourist guide would definitely would love to show them. Okay, and it's a good opportunity to get to have a feel for the country's history and culture. Yeah, and you never know, maybe one day you'll decide to be part of that culture. Okay, so you're more than welcome to come to London. You and I have been to so many restaurants, haven't we? All right. Sometimes a waiter can make a big difference in your feeling towards that restaurant. So a waiter serves customers at the table in a restaurant, and a waiter is responsible for making you as happy and as calm and as satisfied as possible of the service of the restaurant. Okay, sometimes the food could be good, sometimes where you're sitting could be nice, but if the waiter is horrible, you would never ever want to go back to that restaurant. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally. Okay, so waiter, his job is to smile, to understand what you need. Sometimes they give you options. Okay, sir, if you want to have the rice with the chicken, why don't you try the sauce? Why don't you try to put this extra thing here? Right? Why don't you try to go for the chips with this drink? They make your experience very enjoyable, very fruitful. Okay? So, next time you go to a restaurant, observe carefully how the waiter deals with you. Right? I mean, if you look at the picture here, clearly he's a professional waiter. And the elderly gentleman looks very very happy with the service so far. Yeah. Excellent. Managers, as we said, are responsible for running the company, but without their secretary, it will be difficult for them to succeed at all. Okay, so a secretary is the right-hand man or the right-hand woman of the manager. They're responsible for picking up the calls for the managers. They're responsible for booking appointments for the managers. They're responsible for reminding the managers of the next tasks that they have to do within the company. So if you could think of the secretary as kind of like the personal assistant for the manager, okay? And their duty is to make the daily activities of the managers as fast and as smooth and as efficient as possible, okay? So next time you deal with a manager, make sure you have a good look at his or her secretary, because that will tell you a good idea of how the manager runs the company. Okay, excellent. Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of the lesson. I really hope you enjoyed today's lesson. We've seen there are hundreds of different jobs across the world. Not every job is the same. Every job requires a different mindset, a different skill set. And it all depends at the end of the day what makes you happy and what makes you smile when you leave that job. All right. So with that said, please don't forget to subscribe, to press the like button, okay, and to share this lesson with your friends or your colleagues, okay, on the different social media platform. Okay, and I look forward to hearing from your comments. If you look up here or up there, you're going to see vocabulary that is related to places in a town. It's another nice, wonderful lesson. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.